Hmm.
All right, welcome to the first Shays Spiritual Insights of 2022. Glad everyone is here. And the only thing I have to share tonight is to reiterate what I've had in the last two Shays basically insights videos, which is this incoming wave of energy is just amazing. It's just thousands and thousands of fine silk-like threads of golden energy and they're not exactly all the same color, so they're just incredibly beautiful. But each thread has its own purpose. So as it comes in, each of us individually is going to connect with those threads that are part of our growth. And then collectively, all the people in the world, as this energy comes in and as they anchor it, that's going to dictate what's going to happen with the soul group. And as I mentioned in the last video with the soul group, and what looks like is that initially it came in and it was just this beautiful wave. And then I was shown that the soul group has some choices and they're in the distinct areas. And I don't know what those areas are. It's kept veiled from my knowing by the divine, which is fine. But what I've noticed is the energy has now moved into little fingers that match up with these choices. There's, thousands of threads going to each finger. And it now looks like there's 1, 2, 3 of the fingers, which are main choices of the soul group in different areas. And I don't know what they are. And they could further subdivide. And what was before a fainter a fourth one is now a little more pronounced. And then we have 2 more that are faint that have just shown up. So that's what's happening since just a few days ago when that came in. I've had some people tell me that these energies coming in are like caffeine, like energetic caffeine. So if you have that, or if you find yourself agitated, or your emotional baggage is coming up a lot faster and you're finding yourself feeling whatever the emotions, it can be anger, frustration, sorrow, whatever it is, just know that's part of who you were, part of the past events period, and they're being released. And so it's a good thing, but this happens when part of our being holds on to a piece of it, and so it gets processed through our energy field, as we've talked about before. And I'd like to talk about it again and again because people bring it up to me off and on, and it's just a reminder that although it's not something we necessarily want to have the experience of, it is something that is being released, which is a good thing, because as that's being released, new energetic connections are being anchored and allowing us to rise up along and take the soul group with us. So that's all I have.
That's all good.
Yes. Oh, we have Franny just joined in. I would like to let's go in kind of a different order. Last time I went from the bottom up. This time I'm going to go from what's the middle of my screen here on the left-hand side. And Susan, do you have anything to share? And or any questions, either one?
You know, this is a really challenging time. There's part of me, I had my daughter here last week after surgery, and I know how to do quantum touch. I know about energy work, and I couldn't bring myself to work with her. And I guess I kind of questioned myself as to whether I trusted what I can do, or I'm channeled to do. I wasn't sure. I just backed away, and I felt sad. I could do other things for her, but I couldn't do the energy work.
Why do you suppose that is? What is your sense about it? And I'm getting some information in, but I'd like to hear your sense first.
I think I needed a rest.
Yes, and if I were to just share it more simply, it wasn't the time. And in part, and a lot of that was you, because there's things that were happening with you, and it wasn't the time for you to be doing it and to be sharing it. You had some things that you needed to process, and she also had some things that needed to happen to be done before you can do any work with her. So it is kind of sorrowful because it had to do with some releasing of old stuff.
Yeah.
And that can often be sorrowful. experience, because our low self feels it's kind of like giving away that I don't know, something that's been sitting in our house for years and years and years, and we let it go. We've never really needed it. We didn't use it yet. When we let it go, it's kind of like now it's missing. And that's what happens energetically as we let things go, as you know. So
Yeah.
that's what it really appears. And it was a significant group of energies. So it wasn't just one thing. It was a kind of a grouping of them that are related, that cover many different things. But it was really time for them to go, and you honored that. And I think the universe kind of intervened too, to say, no, can't, no, don't do this right now. And if had you tried to do it, it probably would have brought some of that into the session, which wouldn't have been something you wanted to
I
do.
felt like it was interfering.
Yep. Yep.
And the other thing, I just have to ask a question here. I have a friend who is intuitive, but when we were talking about my daughter Jenna and healing,
Mhm.
and what we were trying to do with her, she said there is a really angry angel here, and I thought, I don't know that there are angry angels out there.
No, she was probably picking up on some of the energies that were being released, because that was some pretty heavy, and it was some, if we want to call it old, whatever old is, old
Yeah.
heavy stuff, and they might have been picking up, and I think on those energies.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. There weren't any angry angels there.
Angels aren't angry.
No, 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 no. And
Okay.
there weren't even any demons there either. I just want to just bring
Yeah.
that up. There was none of that. It was just that energy. And you know what? It's interesting about these kinds of energies, and I've noticed it um, with our emotional baggage. It has a consciousness of its own. It does have that. It has volition. It has a consciousness. It has a kind of a purpose. It's rudimentary, but it does have it. Um, and it's important for us sometimes to remember that, because its consciousness is just like any living thing, wants to continue, even though it's a lower vibration. So it's really important that we bless it as it comes up, so that it can be, it can continue on, but be transmuted or shifted into the light, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I
Okay.
agree with you.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you. Is there anything else, Susan?
No, that just came up for me. I was wondering whether I had anything to ask questions about, and that just came up for me. And I'm so grateful to be with my family. That's my big
Yes.
thing.
Everyone's here. It's so wonderful when we share our energies together. It's just
Yeah.
truly awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Lisa, do you have anything to share or to ask, or both?
I would like to just share, I wish felt like I was on caffeine this week. I feel like the total opposite. I've been super tired, sleeping longer, but not sleeping restful. I feel like this week, I feel like I've been in molasses, and it's been so hard just to get simple things done daily. So I don't know if anyone else is feeling that, but I'm feeling like just wiped out, tired.
I'm glad you mentioned that. And as you were talking, they wanted me to mention what's happening with Deborah. Deborah's having these they're flu-like symptoms. And I've noticed as this energy's coming in, it's really, really clearing a lot of old stuff. And what's happening, and she's re-anchoring simultaneously, just as we all are, but it's happening in such a way, and the particular stuff that's being released was some significant, not necessarily positive anchoring points, but they were anchoring points of the low self that she's had for lifetimes. And now all of a sudden they're gone. And all the bodies, as anytime that happens, the bodies have to rebalance, reconnect, and all the energies have to get all the bodies have to get flowing properly again. And it's almost like, again, flu-like symptoms. And I was watching her now. This reintegration process, what it does take energy from our being. I've noticed that, especially, you're also doing a lot of work, but as we do the spiritual work, that reintegration takes energy. It's like, I don't know, going out and shoveling snow. It takes a bit of the energy, and we can feel like we're worn down, we're fatigued, we want to get some sleep or whatever. And that's what she's experiencing. And when it does happen, just as an aside, and this is more so true of, and I'm not trying to program it for anyone, but because of the archetypal nature of the female and the female archetypal bodies and the female body, as these energies, as things are being released and being rebalanced, it sometimes, if we're not careful, it can open us up because we are drained and fatigued. It can open us up physically to being susceptible to disease or something if it's in the house. So it's really important to keep our bubbles with light. And if you need to, use vitamin C. She's taking vitamin C or higher guidance. Her guides had her do that and take elderberry. And it seems to have taken what were looking like flu-like symptoms, which it wasn't flu because I could see it wasn't the flu pattern in her aura or even a cold. It was energetic stuff just showing up and fatiguing her. And it almost looked like, again, that it had actual flu-like symptoms. So I don't know why I brought that up, but I just thought I'd mention it because sometimes what we think is something happening physically is an energetic thing. I guess that's my point. So
Yeah, I was having a headache last night, and I thought it felt like I was kind of getting sick, but I was like, I think it's just the energy. And yeah, then it's gone today. I didn't have it today at all. So
yeah, and I'm just now and I don't know how it is with you. There's so much input coming in from the environment that just like we do, consciously, we ignore lots and lots of stuff in our environment. And so I don't always look at things. You brought up your aura. You'd still have some stuff kind of fluffy, some it's not really bad stuff, but it's some gray stuff. So just be aware of that. Zap your aura. It's kind of just hanging around. It's not like it's stuck or anything. It just needs to be some extra help to get cleared. But for the most part, it looks like it has what you have talked about is gone. Yeah, I can see what was there. It's gone. Yeah.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for sharing that, bringing that up. That's a really wonderful thing I think is timely, especially with the accelerated rate everything is happening. It can bring along physical symptoms and we can think that it's one thing when it's really another. So thank you. What color, just curiosity, I'm digressing, I know everyone. What color is your bathrobe? I'm colorblind, as most of you know, and I'm wondering what color it is. Lisa?
Oh, this is a sweater. It's gray.
Gray?
Mhm.
It's not green.
No,
I thought it was green. All right, thank you.
light gray.
I have a gray car, but I'll tell you, in my book, it's green. Just so everyone knows. My green car, and anyone else can think whatever color they want. For me, it's a beautiful green, and I'm happy. So here we are. All right, Brooke, do you have anything to share? Any questions to ask or Paul?
It's so funny, Jeff, that you asked for her bathrobe. I thought you said, what she wants her bathroom color for?
Oh, no, yeah.
Her bathroom. What color is your bathroom? I thought, that's an odd question to ask.
It would be.
Anyway, it's good to be here with everybody. I just got back from Las Cruces, being down there for 2 days. So I hadn't been home since sometime in the beginning of October. So it was nice to get away. And talking of the flu type stuff, for the past week after our quick whirlwind trip to the Northwest, we put close to 4,000 miles on the rig.
Wow.
Going up, left Friday the 17th, got back Friday the 24th, and just hit the road hard and came back. And I developed flu-like symptoms. I developed a cold type cough. So bad, and sometimes it gets that way that I cough, and I can't catch my breath because it just keeps coughing. And I thought, oh no, is this COVID? So I finally did get myself checked a couple of days ago. It was negative, and so the cough is slowly starting to dissipate though. So if I start, I'll mute myself real quick. I had a conversation with a friend today, and it was a big conversation for over an hour on energy work and the tools that we've worked on over the years to kind of build up our tool shed. And Pat, I've had classes with you. Jeff had classes with you.
Mhm.
Lisa had classes with you, and to really build up my tool shed. And then I'm so far away from everybody now, and then I see these classes that you still all have and these sessions you still all have, and I miss that. But then I think, well, I'm so far away. Am I needing more tools, or do I just miss some of the energy that we share, like when we're together tonight?
Mhm.
Because I'm not taking the classes anymore like I was when I was in the Northwest with you all. But I think, well, I was being prepared for what I'm doing now, where I'm at now. I don't necessarily, or maybe I do, because I don't never want to stop growing from the energetic side. But enough of the tools that maybe it was prepare me to be away from you all for such a distance that I don't take these classes anymore. But I was mindful of that because you've had some of the sessions, and you have some this weekend. It have been just nice to be able to participate in. And so just kind of sharing that I had that kind of a conversation because the friend I was talking to keeps taking classes, and it's like, okay, are you done filling up your tool shed? Are you going to start to use some of these classes? Because that's the difference. We can keep taking because they're of interest to us, but do we really continue to need them so regularly if we're not going to use them? And I don't know what the feedback might be, but I do know I miss them, and being in that room with everybody for the weekends and special things and the learning and the growing. But just something to be mindful, because they were taking another year-long class, and kind of like when we did in Boise, we met for 6 months for a long weekend each month, and she's going to do it for a whole year.
Mhm.
Are you using it? Are you just continue to build up your tool chest for whatever reason? So I don't know if that's just feedback or it's just something that's processing, because I've been in classes with most of you and taken classes with most of you, and it was just something I said, oh, I got a call tonight, I'll join in on. Just kind of share that, because I am away from everybody, and it just seems, even though it's only a few thousand miles, it's a long ways away. And so in that regard, I'm saying I miss you guys from the personal side too, not just seen on visual Zoom type. So, and then maybe just on curiosity, since you kind of saw green on Lisa's outfit there, but maybe you saw her aura too. Maybe you take a look at mine and see what you're seeing, and maybe share that with me.
All right. Well, actually, there are a number of things. Some from your high self, some from probably the universe, not that it necessarily matters because it's all of our higher guidance. All right. So 3 or 4 things. One, you have some energies in your aura. I want to talk about this first, in your high self. And actually, I think it's someone from the tribe. I'm going to say the tribe because I'm not sure. It could be a tribe. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. It's like, looks like a chief kind of energy. And I think it's some of the elders, probably from the tribe or an organization that you're working with. And their energies are moving into your auric field, your energy field. I think there's some interactions coming up that are going to be both at the earthly level, things that you do very much that you have to do interacting with them, but there's also very much a spiritual element level to it. And the universe and I think your high self wants you to be aware of it. So no, you didn't have COVID. And I did, when you were talking about that, I saw that. And you have some, just as everyone, because as these energies come in, I always use that balloon metaphor, because that's what they show me, where that we have the sand ballast, and as the universe brings us higher, as the energies come in, we have to let go of the ballast, which is our emotional baggage. And as it's released, oftentimes it's just released and we don't even know it's gone. Other times, parts of us hold on to it and it gets processed for our auric field. most people do some of that, not everyone. Now, a little bit of that's happening with you. And so as for taking classes, if you have the opportunity to do them, it's good for you to do it, but it's not an either or. I think we can, as we're called to, guided to take a seminar or a class or something from our higher guidance prompts us to do it, that means that's an avenue for our higher guidance, the divine, the universe, to provide us something that we're going to need. So we can continue to learn because we're all lifelong learners, but also we can use the skills that we have, our toolbox, to go and help others. And I'm being shown, in fact, your high self and your guides are telling me that there's going to be some opportunities coming up to take some classes. And for example, Deborah, I'll use her as an example, and I'm sure others may have some as well, that she's going to do some of her sound showers possibly virtually. She's going to do a Zoom or something like that. So that people who aren't in the area can take them, or even if people are in the area and they just don't want to, go physically there, they can. And one of the other things that's happening with your throat, it has to do with, and this has to do with being out there and not only learning tools, but using your tools. I'm not going to say it's partially speaking your truth, but I think it's opening this up so you can be a greater vehicle of expressing what you need to express. And I'm not sure if it's going to be something that I don't necessarily think it's a class or anything, but I think it's going to be part of your work, in your spiritual work in the world, and just interacting with others. This needs to be opened up some more so that it can come through when you're interacting with others and sharing.
Well, if that coughing was part of opening up, I think it definitely opened up.
And it's going to continue for a bit longer. Yeah. Yeah. And
it's interesting you pick up on maybe another class, because I got an email, was it yesterday or today? And one of the classes I took with Pat was the Munich classes is being offered elsewhere. And I thought, oh, wow, it's been a while since I've had that. And thought, was that something that maybe it's an offering of a free class. So I thought, well, maybe I have to look at that because it's been a while.
And then, yeah, I think it's a good idea that you do. I feel like you're being gently called and to look at it. And if you're open, I think there are some growth and connection opportunities if you were to take it, but you have to see how it flows and unfolds.
Yeah, and my last little comment is, we talked about this a couple meetings back, to take commenting, because these are recorded calls, is, the opportunity. You said, when an opportunity comes, you will know it. And I'm starting to think, oh no, is there an opportunity coming? Because all of a sudden I get this email and this position has opened up, and it would be a kind of an ideal type of position within the federal system, within HUD, which is an area I work with. I thought, but there's still so much to do where I'm at. It just doesn't seem like the right time. But then this thing comes up and I think, okay, do I go through the exercise and apply? And if I get offered it, then that's one thing. If I don't get offered it, then it wasn't meant to be. So it's kind of like, wow.
It is a choice. It is one of the choices we talked about that was coming up. It is one of them. And it will require you maybe to leave a little more prematurely than you would want to.
Yeah, and that's what I'm feeling. It's like, oh no.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with the chairman, not about that, but I said, there's just so much to do. We're just starting.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh man. So then I could see what you say, the feeling of maybe the spiritual, there's a throat again, the spiritual side of somebody at the higher level within the tribe, possibly. But then I was thinking, as you were saying that, maybe it's one of my tribal spiritual guides, like the one I've shared with you in the picture, maybe trying to also speak to me.
Yes, it's more than one. There's one, two, and a faint one in the background that kind of doesn't want me to take note that much. And so one of them definitely is one of the elders at the tribe. And it's almost like a spiritual elder or a chief, someone of significance. That you would probably not, I can't say that. I was going to say you may not necessarily intuitively know, but maybe you will. But anyway, and one of them is your guide and other guides. And things are coming up for you and some opportunities. This isn't going to be the only one. I think coming up beyond this, maybe a month or two, it could be sooner. It's hard to tell timelines on these things that will come up for you. And it's really going to be a choice, and it's a path choice. And they're not always, I'm going to say easy. It's sometimes it's a challenge, even when it's the right thing and we know it's the right thing. It can be a challenge to move on to the next choice, knowing that there's things that we could still do in the other path. So I think that's going to be part of your choices and discernment that's coming up for you.
Yeah, and my comment on that is every other choice I've made along my career path has always been, I knew it was time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not getting that so strong this time, because I could stay where I'm at and still accomplish a whole bunch with my team that I work with, or I could move on and become more of an influence in another area, which I believe needs it.
It's an elevated choice in your life path. It's not like the other ones. It's
Right.
kind of one of those ones where we're moving up, but it's a real opportunity. I don't know how to characterize this, but to step up even more. It's a real conscious, spiritual hyphen conscious choice, and intuitive one as well.
Right.
To guide this. This is sometimes keeping the main thing is easier said than done. And this is an opportunity. If you continue on that you'll be fine either whatever choice you make, but it's really important that with your spiritual heart that you honor the right choice that you're being called to do.
Right.
And you already know that. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing.
And I'll just say real quick, thanks, Pat. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Jeff and Deborah, for the classes we've had so far.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, and you're going to have more opportunities come up, I think. So, all right, I'm going to go down. I guess I'm going to go to the bottom here. Erin, are you there?
I'm here.
You have anything to share or a question or both?
I guess last night was my second session with ketamine. So I'm doing ketamine assisted psychotherapy to just support with depression. And so just I guess a lot of stuff is coming up, and it's been quite a challenge emotionally. So if you have any insights on that and how I could move through this and with a little more ease would be wonderful.
Okay. Well, I can confirm that I can see very clearly it's bumpy right now. I'm just going to call it that. Lots of stuff in different areas coming up. And what's important is that you continue as best you can. And I know it is really challenging for you to do so, because when we're having this stuff come up, it can really affect us. The lower emotional body, which is the third chakra, well, second and third chakra, but anyway, it's also the lower mental body. But anyway, the third chakra is, it's really affecting you, but it is moving. And that is important, that you continue honoring, letting that happen. And it is a challenging process. So as best you can, just connect with the light, connect with your star, keep bringing it through, use the grounding, the grounding shaft of light that we use, as well as your connecting one to the center of creation, or however you want to do it. And that's going to keep the energy flowing, because what's also making this intense are all this golden wave of energy with its thousands and thousands of lines of threads, because each of us is going to connect with those that are part of our growth, and you're definitely having that happen, and it's accelerating this process that you're in. And the reason why you're feeling it is, again, which is very common, is that part of an aspect of your low self, actually several aspects, different ones, are holding on to different pieces. And so, but not enough to stop them from being released, but enough to have them process through your energy field. And that's what you're experiencing. What's important to
Okay.
know is what you're letting, what's being let go. What you're feeling is what is who you used to be. This isn't who you are. This is who you used to be. And the reason why it's happening is because it is being released. And all I can share right now is to continue the process and to continue connecting with your star, the light, and your grounding. That keeps the energy flowing and it quickens the pace.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing, and I'll be definitely sending you white light.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Franny, do you have anything to share or anything to ask, or both?
Yes, it's so nice to be here with everybody. I had the privilege of going to California to spend holidays with my mother and sister-in-law.
You're breaking
And
up a little
they
bit.
have gifted me with
Mhm.
they had an extra car, which they gave me because I was having ongoing problems and breakdowns with the car that I had.
Yeah.
So I flew there to get the car and then took a fun road trip making my way back home, and came up through the California redwoods and loved seeing the big trees.
Mhm.
And just spent a little bit of time there and then came up the coast of Oregon. And I didn't want to cut over. I didn't want to go inland. I kept going further north,
Mhm.
and finally made it home last weekend. And I feel like I'm still sort of energetically, I'm not sure where I'm at. I feel like I'm a little bit lost in a daze.
Kind of like
And
you're still on
I'm
the trip.
sleeping.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I'm sleeping a lot and just can't seem to, haven't gotten back in the groove yet. So anyway, so I'm curious about, anything you can tell me as far as my energy goes. I love the trip. It was good to spend time with my brother. I fell on the ice and I hurt this elbow and this wrist and thumb. And the other day I was thinking that the creator really has a sense of humor, because there's certain things that I can do with this arm, but not this one, and vice versa. So I have to remember, don't press with that one, and don't lift with this one, but you can lift with this one, and don't press with that one, but you can do that with the other one. It's just really hysterical. And I'm healing, but I'm also like, my new little car is a stick shift. So I have to, with one of the gears, I have to reach across and use two hands to get it into the gear that I need. So anyway, any words of wisdom that you have, I would welcome. I feel like in one of my prayers, we say I'm a pitiful two-legged, and I definitely feel like a pitiful
goodness.
two-legged.
Well, just a few things, and I'm actually fairly light, and you're definitely, because this is, as with most people right now, that especially within this group, all of you are on what I call the committed spiritual path. And because you're on the committed spiritual path, things are accelerated. People who aren't, who are casually living life and just living an earthly life often don't have all the kinds of stuff happen to them that happen to us. That's because they're doing things at a much slower pace. But people in this, that are in this group and beyond, and many that are not here, this is a lifetime that they've chosen to, I call it wrapping everything up in a bow, finishing this phase of lifetimes. I just call that just this, it's like part one of a book or something. It's a collection of chapters of our lives, and they all had some commonality to it. And we're wrapping it up, putting it behind us, letting it go, and connecting and moving into this next level. And that's definitely happening to everyone here. And because of that, things are being accelerated. So as these energies come in, because you're all light workers, you're anchoring the light, not only for the planet, raising the frequency of the planet, but also for the soul group. Your energies are getting mixed in, and it's helping everyone else, even if they don't know it, and many don't. So with that said, I'm going to just kind of caveat a few things. One, seeing your brother was a good thing. Being there, there were some connections, disconnections, and I don't know what you want to call it, some not necessarily, I don't want to call it jumbling, but rearranging of the energies of your relationship with him. Does that make sense? And it's more at the non-conscious level than you would probably might have been consciously aware of. You may not even had any awareness at all of this, but when you were there visiting, there's a bit of that happening. I was shown that as you were talking about it. A lot of it with him, okay, which is because you were there. Because as the light comes through, you're a vehicle of light for those around you, as everyone here is. Also, because you're on the committed spiritual path, and I will call it the accelerated spiritual path, as many here are, as we all are, you have, it seems like you go through a wave of doing things and you get a little bit of respite, and then another wave happens and you're doing a bunch of releasing, connecting, and reintegrating, and that's wearing you out. Plus you just have the energy, just the natural, I call it almost like trip lag. It's not jet lag, it's trip lag from the trip. When you talk about it, it's like, I could say, she's still on the trip energetically. There's part of you kind of like it hasn't all caught up with you yet. So you have that combination of all those things happening, but it's all good because it's all moving you in the direction that you're seeking to do it. And it's doing it more calmly than things have been sometimes in the past, which is a good thing. So that's all I have to share. It's a good thing. Just let yourself integrate the energies. And I, because I'm seeing it happen with Deborah in such a pronounced manner, it's a reminder to me that these energies can affect different people in different ways, and some people far more than others. And again, I don't want to just program it for anyone, but again, I've noticed it more so with females because of the archetypal nature of the female identity. Things tend to manifest into their body and their life. When energies come in, it shows up in their body more so than it does with the average guy who's a spiritual person too. And that's a gross generalization. It's not, there are exceptions obviously to that, but all's good, including your thumb and your elbow. I find that kind of humorous. Maybe the universe is trying to give you some alternate training on driving here.
Yeah.
So little humor there, but thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much.
All right, I'm going to move over and do it from the other side. June always told me to go clockwise, but I'm gonna buck the universal system and go a little counterclockwise and talk to Paula over here on my right. How are you, Paula? Anything to share or anything to ask, or both?
A little of both. Thank you so much. And it is so wonderful to always be here with everyone. I've noticed the last couple of days, because I started out the beginning of the year very uplifted and stuff. And then the last couple of days, it's really been that downward. I don't feel icky. I realized, wow, I'm just not feeling myself. But my light language singing I've been doing every day, it occurs to me it's very Native American. And the words are very much the same each song. And I'm wondering if there's something there I'm releasing that is a reason why they generally aren't always the same words, but these always feel very much this last week like I'm re-saying that wording a lot. And I'm wondering what that reasoning is, or if it's important.
Oh, it's
And
definitely.
that would really be, other than, I love the threads. They're so powerful.
Oh, they are. And everyone, boy, because they're so fine, they seem like if we think of ourselves as sponges, we are really absorbing it. And especially, again, those on the committed spiritual path, because they're seeking it and it's just coming in. And I'm waiting to see what comes of it. What I got from your high self and your one, I'm going to call, I don't know, almost a shamanic native guide. I don't how to describe, I'm going to say her, but it has some male characteristics as well. But you know, when we do chants, it's the toning, it's the chants have the energetic patterning that brings changes into our energetic body, into our life. So as you're doing this, it's I'm going to call it, I don't want to call it programming. I'm going to call it tuning your bodies and the channels of light and connections that you have. It's also, as part of this tuning, it's naturally help along with all the other energies, things are being released and let it go. And that's part of that. You can feel the old, it takes some of our energy away when that happens. So we can have a little bit of a dip, sometimes a lot of a dip. And it's gently, I don't even know how to say it, it's featherly, I don't know if that's even a word, connecting you up here in a new, it's not even regular connections, it's just almost feathery connections. They're unique. I don't even know how to describe them, but that's happening with you. So it's as you're chanting these chants or singing these songs, it's like Shiva, it's kind of like a song version of Shiva dancing the dance of life, bringing in the essence of your true self, coming in and bringing in new things. And so I'm going to say tuning is kind of like bringing in new programming, as like when we bring in a download or something, but it's not that. It's almost like a song. Your being is an instrument and you're bringing in the song. It's tuning you. It's hard to describe because it's hard to put words to this. It's poetic what's happening with you right now. So that's the best I can do to describe it.
Resonated very much. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And that's funny about Shiva, because I'm dancing with Shiva each morning. With a process that we did with Shiva. And so that thank you, Shiva, for coming in just there. Thank you all.
You're welcome. And I saw Shiva. That's why it got mentioned. So, all right. Well, thank you. And Pat, do you have anything to share or anything to ask or both?
Yeah, I want a little bit of that Shiva stuff too.
Well, you have your own stuff going on anyway.
I know, I'm just kidding around. So this has been a question that I've had for a while, and I just there's two questions, two parts. So when we are on a parallel universe, is it a higher plane of existence or not necessarily so? And the second part is, do we bring back what we are doing on a different plane of existence to this plane, and does it help all of humanity?
Boy, I'm going to answer these quickly. Yes, yes, and yes. Okay. And especially, and I've noticed this is coming for all of you that have done sessions. And what I've noticed is that as the frequency is raising, everybody's sessions, there's some common things happening. And one of them is we have aspects of ourselves that we can think of that are in alternate dimensions. Some of them, I call them realms because I just don't have a name for them. They're more than dimensions. They're more than higher planes. They're just alternate realms. Some of them you could think of as higher, although it's almost, it's like apples and oranges. It's hard to describe them that way. Some of our aspects are in past lives, some are in future lives. And, and so we can have our future self affecting past events and alternate timelines and all the rest of that. So what I've noted that's happening with people, and I can say that with everyone that's in this group here and beyond, is that these energetic wiring, let's call it our being's wiring, that connects us to the different aspects of us. What I've noticed is that many of you are having those connections. The wiring's already there, but the connection's being turned on. Some of it for you has been passive in the past. Many of you, and you being one of them, Pat, it's now active. And what that is that you're actively at the non-conscious level, at different levels of your being, interacting, getting that aspect of you is bringing energies into you. You're bringing energies into it. And there's hundreds of, dozens, let's just say there's dozens and dozens and dozens of them that you're interacting with in the different realms, past and future lives, different levels. And what is happening, and this is part of the natural growth as we expand out into our greater being, we start operating, interacting with these different aspects of us like a networked bunch of computers would, where you have 10 computers in a network, all communicating with each other, all working on the same problem or problems or same challenges. And so what's happening is as we communicate with us, it accelerates our growth. We're bringing in the information from them into us. It's helping humanity. It's accelerating our growth because we're now getting, let's say there's something we're working on, either consciously, non-consciously, or both. We're working on it here. There's an aspect of us over here that is also working on a piece of it that we may not be consciously aware of, but it's coming into us. And what it does is it synergistically accelerates our growth, our learning, our awareness, and slowly but surely, instead of all these things operating kind of independently of one another, the wiring allows it to, at least at the non-conscious level or at different levels of our being, to operate holistically together in concert. And eventually what happens as we through lifetimes, and when we get beyond terrestrial life, eventually we go and expand, and all these different aspects of ourselves get integrated, and we become, you could say, whole again. And it usually has to do with our movement up toward source. I'm oversimplifying that, but that is what's happening with you. So, and it's happening with everyone here. Everyone, in fact, many of you that we've done sessions with, I've seen this already. Some more than others, and some people, each of you uniquely, there's some unique things with each of you that's happening with you that's not happening with the other person, but it is happening with everyone. And the other thing that's happening, they wanted me to mention it, they being the divine, aspects of the divine, is we have this, I call it the light body template. Every group has a different name for it, the high self, and it has all the coding for us. What we also have is these invisible structures that guide all the energies and all the flows in all of our different bodies from low to high. It's kind of like an invisible chassis to a car, and it guides all the how all the energies work, how the flows work, how the meridians happen, everything, anything, DNA, everything. What happens, and this has happened with many of you during your sessions, is that this framework works within a certain spectrum of our learning. Let's just say when we get to a certain point, we start at a certain point, and we raise and raise and raise in frequency, and this body is good, and it can evolve for a while, but then all of a sudden you have to go to the next iteration of the body. It's like a metamorphosis, and the old body. And this happens quite naturally. This will happen to us without having to have a session. It will happen. But if the person's ready for it, and you just happen to be having a session at that particular time, what has happened is the old pattern is dissolved by the divine, and the new pattern, higher pattern that you're ready for. And it's part of your, we talk about, I've mentioned it for some of you, and I'm kind of doing a quick crash course, is we have the high self, and there's higher iterations of the high self. There's higher levels of the high self that are very much quantum in nature. But in any case, it has to do with those. And what that does is, as these bodies come in, they replace the old invisible body. We may not even be aware that it happened. And that allows us to then move into the next spectrum of growth, which, if I'm going to wrap it up, because all of you are on the committed spiritual path, and you're wrapping up this phase, this collection of lifetimes that were all part of this, collection of learning, that you're done with that phase or part, and you're moving into the next level. Some people call it the new dimension, the new earth, but it has to do with the next higher levels of our interaction and growth. That's happening to lots of people. And if it hasn't happened to all of you yet, it's going to happen. Everyone here. And that includes you, Aaron. You've got some stuff coming up with that. So there's been some changes in that structural, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of this stuff's happening. And although it's challenging, it's also very much as time unfoldment happens in your life, it's going to allow you to move into the newer things. And I know it can't happen soon enough, but it's happening. So I don't know why I went there with all of that, but it just came through to talk about it. And that's what's happening with everyone. And it's more than just moving to the next step. It really is shifting to the next phase. This is like moving from high school to college or from college to graduate school. This is a whole new energetic range of environment, and it's a whole spectrum associated with it. And once you move into this, you're operating at this next wavelength. You're operating in the new energies and the paradigms that are associated with these higher octaves, as I call them, of energies, and all the realms and dimensions that they're associated with. And it's just a glorious time we're in because of what's happening on the planet. It's allowing this to happen. And we all obviously all chosen to be here at this time so we can participate in it. So sorry for being long-winded, but that's just what came through.
Thank you, Jeff, and thanks for sharing all of that with all of us. I think we all appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. And I don't know how to, when I'm, for example, when I see, when this happens, when someone, for example, is in a session, because I get to participate, be a participant in what your higher guidance is doing. When this happens, this is such a, I can say a big deal. This is a huge event when these things happen, when these new, invisible frameworks of our many bodies come in, because that means all these lifetimes of effort that each of you has put in to get to this point are now coming to a major fruition. It's kind of like Moses crossing the Red Sea. It's a little bit of an overstatement, but not much. It's that kind of significance in our own personal life and growth that when this happens, it's a major milestone, and it's beyond awesome. It's just, it's glorious. It's wonderful. So thank you. I'm just glad to know everyone, because when I see this happening, it just affirms all the things that we've known were coming. They're here. We're doing them, And so we just need to keep ourselves connected with the light so that we can help do our part. Each of us do our part to anchor that energy in for the world and for the soul group, so that they can participate as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have anything to share? I don't have anything else. Does anyone else have anything to share? Any thoughts? Any other questions? All right. Well, just thank you all for being here. It is such a blessing to me when I see all of you and all of your radiant energies coming in, flowing in. I'm all wired for the rest of the evening. I don't get to sleep till midnight or something, because it just is so wonderful when we share like this. And it's just a blessing, each of us blessing the other. And then, as we all know, when we get together, it just multiplies the energies, and wonderful things can happen that don't necessarily happen at least as rapidly when we're by ourselves. So
Thank you for family.
yes, it is. You are our family. You're my family. And you're just such a blessing in my life. And I'm so grateful that we are able to come together like this once a month. So,
Well, let Deborah know we missed her.
yes, I will. And
look forward to the Zoom participation to some of the sessions you're at.
I'm going to mention that to her, and it may be that she has to do them for a while. You know how it is when you first start things, it takes a while for people to say, oh, there's Zoom sessions going on. So I'll mention that to her. And I know she has a sound shower tomorrow in town, but if people feel inclined to be there that are here, that's wonderful. I also know that we just had a bunch of wet snow, so that we understand that if that's a concern as well. So, so with it, just thank you all for being here. Blessings, light, and love. And until next time, namaste.
Thank you.
Oh, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy love.
Thank
Good
you.
to see
Jeff.
everyone.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Night.
Right.